past couple of months, I've had to talk a lot about narrative consultation companies and woke developers creating products that people ultimately are not happy with. And a game that was announced late last year called Dustborn met a lot of criticism because they said that it was inspired by political events that started in 2016, and they've actually released a brand new trailer and the release date for it, and it is getting gloriously ratioed. I have a few different things that I want to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or through YouTube memberships. Now, this is a game I've already done a few videos on because when it was initially announced, a lot of people were not happy with what they saw, especially when you did a deep dive and you saw why they created this game in the first place and what inspired it. So if you do not know, Dustborn is an upcoming game that is supposed to feature a strong, diverse cast of characters. It's going to have adventure mechanics and lots of branching dialogue and stories, but of course, there is a combat system. And what does that combat system entail? You are in a world where America is filled with disinformation and you actually use words as weapons, which I've got to be honest, isn't actually the worst concept if we were talking about maybe like a singing game where your words and your tone actually mattered, and you know, the faster you sang or something, the more damage your words dealt. But that's not what we're talking about here. We are straight up just talking about like words of disinformation, and you're fighting that disinformation with your words and your truth, which is ridiculous. But what really infuriated a lot of people, and what really tipped the scales for a lot of people and made them not want to support this, is the idea behind Dustborn's setting and characters was heavily influenced by a series of political events that deeply affected us all, beginning in the summer of 2016 and continuing until, well, today. As game developers, they said that they wanted to tell a story that felt relevant and thematically timely, with a cast of characters that could more accurately represent our player base and the setting, and to hopefully have some positive impact on the world, in addition to being an entertaining game. So they focused on putting their personal politics into the game, but they even admit that, well, what they were worried about first and foremost was activism and putting their messaging into this game, and in addition, they wanted it to be an entertaining game. That is how you know a title is going to be a failure, if you are not focused on making it an entertaining game first and foremost. Now, of course, they don't directly say any names or political events that happened in 2016, but we have Black Lives Matter that broke into the political mainstream. You've got the first Black president, Barack Obama, ending his final term, and then later in the year, you had the left's boogeyman, Donald Trump, winning the presidential election. So this is pure TDS, and that first trailer got ratioed 7 months ago, 56,000 views, which isn't great, but it has 746 likes to 7,000 dislikes. But another big problem is that they turned the comments off. They didn't want anybody discussing this game. They didn't want anybody criticizing this product. And with this new trailer that they've put out, it's definitely not doing that strong, 23,000 views, but it's sitting at 830 likes to 2.2k dislikes. So already being gloriously ratioed. Now, of course, when I first saw this, I was not impressed. I'm sure a lot of you also were not impressed in it. And if this is your first time seeing this game, it really doesn't look like it's got a lot going for it. I try to see the positives in games, but there's just really nothing here. The main cast of characters seems extremely cringeworthy. Visually, I guess it looks okay, but the gameplay also looks like it's going to be fairly clunky. I'm just not the biggest fan, and of course, the only credit I will give them is the fact that they're not taking a beloved franchise and injecting it with identity politics. At least they're woke developers creating their own game, but that doesn't mean that we can't criticize it, and this title definitely deserves a heck of a lot of criticism. And people in the comments are just destroying them over this, saying, you know, who really wants to play a game where you're in this version of America? They claim it's a fictionalized version of America, yet it's clearly how they view America. Like it's a place torn apart by disinformation and gripped by fascism. People are saying things like, if I see that haircut one more time, every character has the haircut, the side of the head that's shaved. Same day as Black Myth Wukong doesn't seem like a smart decision to me. This is very true. I definitely think that game could become divisive because we've seen so many delays, we've seen so many generic teasers and trailers, but at the same time, what we have seen looks promising and a heck of a lot more promising than Dustborn over here. Dustborn really just seems like a Saints Row reboot clone. At the end of the day, that's all that it really comes across as. I mean, this game is DEI to the max. They're proud of the messaging they're pushing, they're proud of their creation, and it represents everything that's wrong with identity politics and DEI narrative. They think that they're right, but they're literally making a satire of themselves. It's like a game that a non-leftist would make to parody the left, but they've done it to themselves. The plot is literally justice versus Puritans. The Puritans are the technocrats. It's as if one side is a cult surrounding the technology they control. They even mention if Google or Apple and Tesla came together, then the other side started as a righteous and meaningful group that wanted justice for all people that ended up going evil. I mean, it is just not a good-looking game. It does not seem like it is going to be a strong narrative choice. It just does not seem like this game is going to have a lot going for it. Twitter users the game, Dustborn, more like DEI born, looks like a Telltale game with combat, and that shouldn't be a negative thing because Telltale games have been extremely popular in the past, but unfortunately, this game just looks like it's going to be a dumpster fire. It, of course, is a stunning and brave game made for the modern audience, and it will be interesting to see in August when it finally releases if anybody actually shows up to support this game. I know that you guys have asked me to play it as a kind of troll game to see how much cringe I can actually get through. I don't necessarily know if I've got that much of a range of cringe within me, if I can deal with that much cringe, but only time will tell. I will be keeping my eye on this trailer to see if the comments end up getting shut off and if they try to silence any of their critics, but for now, that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, of course, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel, and of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.